Another year, another December junk journal flip through to share with all of you. I look forward to this. It's kind of like a tradition now, I think, to share my December journal. This is the December journal that I made for this year. All handmade, the cover, the back cover. If you watched my previous video from last year, this was a journal that was gifted to me and I personalized it. Followed a color palette that really inspired me last year. Greens and creams and whites, and I will leave below the link to that video if you haven't seen it already. I wanted it to look like an old diary, you know, from years past that has been loved, aged, worn, and you know that there's some special memories inside of here and lots of layers to flip through. I used the digital kit, My Christmas Diary, as that was the main inspiration. I will leave below the links to all of the digital kits that I mentioned. Make sure you take advantage of the 50% off digital sale that's in my shop right now. I scanned in this really old book. So this is all a layered piece, the front cover. For the construction of this journal, the cover is basically a digital, and I layered vintage papers on the sides, and then this is just some of my aging that I usually do. And then the front of the cover, I made a wrap closure. I took an old piece of card and then I just added different kinds of papers on top of it, and then I stitched this really old French fabric on there. So beautiful. And then these little pieces here, this is from an old quilt, as well as this piece. And this little honeycomb reminded me of like the bottom of a vase where little flowers could be kept. You'll notice with lots of my journals now, I'm adding little bits of millinery flowers because I need to use up what I have been collecting for years. And here, since it looked like an index card, on top of the pocket I stitched this little tab that I made, and I used some of my washi tape to put December on there, and it fit perfectly in that little space. And of course, this is stitched onto the sari silk. And since this is a pocket, you'll see that's a pocket right there, there is a tag. A really old tag. I love this tag so much. I got it from an antique store here in Georgia, as you can see, Atlanta. I just love local ephemera pieces from where you live. I'm definitely going to scan this and turn this into a kit. But that goes in my little fabric pocket in there. This is the spine of the journal. I did a lot of stitching. You can see the little velvet here, some crochet lace that goes all around. Part of the quilt that then wraps over to the back. So the spine is actually connected to the back cover. Always wanted to put buttons on my spine, so this one is a really nice old antique one, a wooden one, and a pretty red one. And I just love all of the layers. On the back cover, I wanted it to look like a Christmas quilt. Very handmade with lots of layers and using vintage fabrics and pieces, and then the spine with some velvets and some buttons. A lot of messy stitching, collaging of various fabrics. And then this was actually part of an apron that was coming apart, and I think you can see where it was stitched. But I just cut a piece from it and I included it on here, and I just love it. I love that little pop of floral. And then this is just a really old quilt. It's tearing at some parts, but I love the quilt so much. Some old French fabric. I've just layered different laces. So here's a little bit of a skirt. Then this is some old antique lace. Looks so pretty, all collaged together. The little Santa hat, it's so cute. It came in a pack of little vintage ornaments from an antique store. Each one was different, and I just loved the little Santa hat. So I just attached that as a little charm, and this was a remnant of the quilt that was left over, so I just created a tab from there, from this fabric here. And my silk ruffles and all different types of French fabrics to create the tabs, and of course velvet and lace. Once I remove the closure, this is what the front cover looks like. And you might notice that the cover has a little bit of discoloration, and that's because I accidentally poured water on my front cover. So this part here at the bottom is part of the digital. I aged it to look like an old Christmas photograph. But I was doing some watercoloring in here, and part of the water got onto the cover and it kind of changed the color a little bit. I was really nervous at first because I didn't want to ruin my cover, but I think it made it look a lot more old and vintage and worn. This is some Victorian lace that I love, and I wanted it to kind of wrap around the front cover and a little bit of the spine. And then there's some sari silk and some textiles here as well to connect the lace to the spine. So now opening up the journal. Oh, I love all of the color. On the inside of the front cover, I created this little pocket out of the digital from Dear Fawn. And then I just distressed this little clip. I wanted it to look like a little clipboard that you could put like your mail and your letters in there. And I was just experimenting with, just the idea of receiving letters and mail during Christmas time. And then I just added some twine that actually goes behind the pocket as well. And in the pocket, I kept some Happy Mail that was sent to me. This gorgeous tag sent by the beautiful Lisa, and I just stitched that together. Here, this is a beautiful card from Amy. She just sent me some really pretty fabrics, and I wanted to include a little snippet of that there. And another lovely Christmas card from Lori. If you guys send me Happy Mail, I always treasure it so much. I remember when I first started making journals, back when I was in college, I dreamed of having a little community of people who were just like me, who loved fabric, who loved paper, and I always thought, wow, if one day I could have a pen pal, or we can send Happy Mail to each other. And that's why that means a lot to me. So all the mail that I get, I always save it and I always put it in my journals. I'm not sure if you can see, but here on the bottom, this is part of the digital that was showing from the front cover, and it was white since I did print it out. And all I did was I used some of my washi tape to fill in those blank spots. Here at the top as well, I just used some of my tape to cover in those little areas. This front page I love because it's a vintage envelope that I opened, so that this is the front, and the back of the envelope is another page in the journal. And then this is from a vintage scrapbook that I bought. And I scanned, and that is also a kit, a beautiful kit of vintage scrapbook pieces for Christmas. So I can do my journaling, and here I was just talking about December. The start of December, I just decorated it with my washi and did my journaling, and then here with this little photo corner, I have my first candle. So I started this tradition last year where I like to make a wish. And a candle, you can blow the candle and make a wish. So this is just part of a digital, and then I took some glitter paper to mimic the flame of a candle, a little rhinestone, and I just backed it with some vintage ledger and stitched it, and that just stays nice and safe in there. So I typically fill in my wishes on New Year's Eve. That's a tradition that I have done for a couple years now. So I will be journaling on the back of this candle, my first wish of the new year. And I really love that. It's super simple and easy to do, but really meaningful, and I think starts off your December journal to a very magical start. On the back of that page, I took a Trader Joe's bag and I just journaled on there, stitched it. This is the same fabric that we used to make the index card wrap. I stitched it to the page and I just collaged other papers on there. And on here, I did some journaling as well. So I just hid my journaling right in that little fabric pocket, and I decorated the tea stain paper with some scraps of my washi tape. So for those that do have the thinner tape that we offer, I love collaging them on top of each other to make it look like old tape. It gives it a very vintage look to your journals if that's the style that you like. Here, a beautiful image, some wallpaper and some writing space here. And I just put my journaling on this little scrap of paper here. So I was gifted this sticker from this store that we visited in Florida back at the end of November, and then we took a road trip down to Florida to visit family, and here I just wrote my top 5 favorite things of going and taking a road trip. Road trips with food and music, stopping for antiques, that's my favorite thing to do. I love visiting new little towns and seeing the treasures that the antique stores have to offer. seeing new places, relaxing, not working, and endless conversations in the car. This is a piece of like a vintage letterhead essentially, and I just tipped it in with my washi. I still need to do some journaling here. I might add a little photograph here. But when you open it up, it turns into a washi swatch page. Just love this. It makes me so happy. And I think I'm going to start doing this whenever I come out with a new collection. I think I'm just going to swatch them all on one page. Since this is my December and Christmas collection, I wanted to keep them all safe in one place. So I just use little swatches of every single tape from the collection. And because it's so many different sizes, it's wide, it's normal sized washi, it's a little wider, and even the thin little washis, they all fit perfectly. This was so satisfying to do because it felt like I was just filling in a little puzzle. So if you, in the month of December, let's say you don't know what to do for a page, just swatch your Christmas washi. This to me just puts such a huge smile on my face. And then here is a Polaroid of some beautiful ornaments. We were in Winter Park and we went to this gorgeous antique store, and I loved the ornaments that were at the store. And so of course I had to pick them up for our Christmas tree. And then this is the other side. If you purchased one of our washis from our Christmas collection, definitely let me know which one is your favorite. I absolutely love each and every one of them. We will be restocking some of your favorites for next Christmas, and I can't wait to share some of the new designs that I've been working on for this new year. And then on the back of the paper, I just wrote my December dream. I took, hopefully you can see, I punched out little stars from my scraps of paper that were left over, and then I just stitched them in a little line, my little confetti stars, and I just glued those to the page. And then on this page, I love all the layers of this page and this gorgeous ruffle. This is my second little candle for the month of December. And all I did was I took a tag and I collaged different types of French fabrics on there. This is actually a vintage ribbon. Just looked like the perfect little fabric tag to keep my second wish for December. So same thing, just backed it with vintage ledger, did the little glitter flame, and that just stays nice and safe in there. This does flip out, and I did do some of my journaling here, and then this is just an image that I loved, and it says, "My heart is blooming." And this actually is a little pocket. So in the back of here, I have this gorgeous image from one of the vintage scrapbooks, the Christmas one that I scanned. So I'm going to do some journaling behind there, and I just did a little doodling, and then here at the bottom I used some of my washi tape. Next page. Oh, this page looks so peaceful. This was an image I found from Pinterest. I shared a shorts video where I explained how you could do this, but you can take a picture of your own door or any door that you find an image of that you love from a magazine, and you can cut it out, and then you can tip it into ledger paper so that it flips open. And I just glued on some tinsel on the top and on the side of the little door where it flips open to mimic like Christmas lights. And I just love how much texture that adds. I love when it catches the light, how beautiful it looks as if there's lights. And I just decorated with little glitter stars. When you open up the door, it's supposed to symbolize, you know, the doors to your home. Everything that I love is at home and is represented through the home. So this is just a little stamp, and I just wrote "My heart, my home." I used a bit of paint to make it look as if it's like a wintry, snowy Christmas, even though it did not snow here in Georgia. But you can mimic that in your journal. I'm going to journal on the side of the door here, maybe include a photo of the Christmas photo that we took, and that will be safe and sound behind my door. And then this is from a magazine that I cut out and I just doodled, and just some vintage paper and a little bit of lace. That's actually a little tuck spot if I wanted to put a photograph or something in there. I also stapled a little ornament tag, and this was from a magazine, a beautiful ornament. I've been wanting to find like hollow ornaments that are like three-dimensional for the longest time. They're very pricey online, and I might just bite the bullet and purchase a set online, but I really want to find them like in the wild at antique stores. But they're just gorgeous, and I used a little bit of glitter to decorate it. I just laminated some of my washi tape, the sentiment washi, and I put the scene of peace. And so here I will be journaling about what brings me peace during the holiday season. A lot of December for me is the beauty of being home, the beauty of finding peace, with your loved ones. Even though this December felt like it's been going super fast, I'm trying to slow down every day and just take in those little moments of peace. I attached this to the paper clip, and it's a little vintage ornament, and I think it goes perfect with the little Santa. Let's see if we can match it up here. There you go. Little Santa hat on the Santa. This page spread, very simple, honestly, but really beautiful. Layered some bits of paper. This is actually a digital that I'm testing. It's some French fabric that I purchased, and it's a beautiful, it feels like bar cloth. It's a beautiful linen, and I was nervous that when I scanned it, it would lose the texture of the fabric, and I'm so happy that when you print it out, you get those beautiful threads. This will be a kit that will be in the shop probably in the first couple of weeks of the new year. And then I just used some of my washi tape here. This is just a photo from Pinterest of a little trinket collection. So this journaling is not December related. It just so happens that for the month of December, I found lots of little trinkets that to me are just like the perfect little gift. And I was just journaling about that, how I'm really enjoying collecting little tiny trinkets that don't really have a purpose. Like this tiny little jug. Oh, little jug. Ooh, it's a little dirty in there. Made in Czechoslovakia. That is really cool. I picked this up from an estate sale, as well as this. A little piggy that looks like a cow, but it's a little piggy. And actually, I could put my little piggy in my teapot. Or not the teapot, in my little jug. Little trinkets like this, you have no idea how happy they make me. I think that's why I like this little Santa hat so much. Collage my papers, I did some stitching. This is one of my favorite pages because it's so simple, but it's so wholesome because I am just journaling from my heart. So I really like this page, simple but very special for me. These pages are the food and recipe pages. So a big part of December, at least for my family, is cooking and coming together and eating amazing food. And that was a big inspiration for part of the Christmas collection. So on this page, I just took some vintage recipes, I layered them. This is a tag from Dear Fawn. I just did my journaling here. And then here, I need to be careful because this envelope is vintage and it's tearing from the top. And all I did was I took my recipe, my wide recipe washi, and I just love the typewriter font. I scanned them from real vintage recipe cards that I have, and I turned it into washi tape. And so I just used the washi to decorate the flap. And then on the back side, I didn't cut them off, like the little excess pieces. I just folded it over, and I loved that look. Because to me, when I go through vintage recipe books, they're all like just stacked together, not perfect. They tend to look like this, and I loved that so much. I remember going to an estate sale, and in the kitchen, it was like a light blue, super retro, like 1950s style kitchen. And it had a wallpaper that looked just like this, a border right at the bottom. And I'm just so happy that, that memory I turned into washi tape. And then this is just another one of my vintage recipe cards, and I will be doing my own personal journaling on the back. And then this was a fun little idea. I just took my scraps and then I put my washi tape on the page, and I just punched out some little washi designs on there. And so I did a ton of those actually because they look like little cabochons. It looks like a porcelain cabochon or porcelain pin that you would put onto your clothes. I don't know, I love it so much. My aunt and my cousin make a delicious apple salad, and then my aunt also makes rum cake, and I make cookies, and it's such a fun time. And then on this page, I wanted to create kind of like a layered scrapbooky effect. Here are just some of the pages that I have from that old scrapbook that I purchased. They're scrapbook pages, and something that I really liked is just the withered kind of layered look and how people would collage all of their images together. I have scanned that scrapbook, and these little images from the Christmas scrapbook kit come from those pages. And so what I did is I cut them out, and then I took vintage paper and I just glued them in little wonky places, and I just stitched. And to me, this just looks so interesting. I know maybe it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I personally loved it because I wanted it to look like, okay, you just turn to this page of like your grandma's recipe book, and it's not perfect. It's a little messy. You know, there's little stains. That is the theme and the style that I wanted to go with in this journal. And then just my favorite, I think, image ever from the little washi, this folk little stove. I cannot wait. I want to have one of these one day in my house. I know it's probably difficult and it's going to be a hassle, but I love like vintage little folk stoves. They're so beautiful to me. And I think I got that from my mom because my mom loves stuff like this. It's just so pretty. I created a little pocket space. Fabric is the base, and then this is just collaged and stitched together. And I just did my journaling for Christmas on there, for what we ate for Christmas and the beautiful recipes that we got to enjoy. This is a fabric pocket with some lace. And so here in the pocket, this is a gorgeous photo from Rosanna from Sweet Haven. She's a sweetheart, and I absolutely love the work that she does. She made a tutorial for how to create gingerbread houses and Christmas pudding, and I think giving this as a gift to someone, oh my gosh, it's so cute. So I need to stitch and I need to do my journaling, but I will link below her tutorial and her information because all of the proceeds go to her sweet little Haven Sanctuary where she has such beautiful little animals, and that to me is just such a beautiful cause. Here in this pocket, I just put family recipes, and this is really cool. This is a vintage, like a true vintage Polaroid. I purchased this vintage like cookbook, scrapbook. That's where I found the ginger cookies recipe. And in that same cookbook was this Polaroid. And if you look closely, hopefully you can see, it's of Christmas dinner. And you can see all the little plates and the candles and the poinsettias and the decoration. This just melts my heart. I think this is so, so beautiful. So I, of course, want to treasure this forever, and I did not want to glue this down because I just like being able to hold it since it is authentic. So that just goes in there. And then this is just a piece of that same scrapbook that I purchased. And I'm just going to do my journaling there. On this page, I just did journaling about gifts, and I did some collaging with some images, some ledgers, some of my washi. That's something else that you can do. You could layer your papers, and then behind your papers, stick your washi tape. When I was little, I was so excited to receive, so many gifts. And then as I got older, I get more excited to actually gift someone a present that comes from the heart, that means a lot to me. And so I was just journaling about that. On to the next page. This page is a lot of fun. Lots of cranberries and reds. This to me looks like Christmas. And for this page, this is the other side of that music sheet. And I just used some little texture paste to give it some decoration. And I just stamped my love for teapots. And this is an enamel teapot from a magazine. That to me is just symbolic of winter without really having to journal about anything. On this page, I just collaged some ledger, a bit of my washi. This washi just pairs so perfectly with any kind of vintage paper. And then to make up for this little awkward space, I used this sweet little washi, and I extended this page with some tea-stained paper, turned it into a pocket. And this is some gingerbread cookies that I want to make with my sister. And this is just a tag from something that was gifted to me. And this is a tag using that same fabric, just in a different size. A great way to hide your journaling. So on this page, you don't see that much writing because my writing is hidden behind some little tags. And of course, that little tab that matches the quilt. This page here, this was for my brother's birthday. So he turned 19 and his birthday's on December the 15th. I did my journaling on the top of the quilt, And in this little pocket that I made was just a little parking ticket. And since it's kind of ugly, I decided to just hide it in there. And the way that I made this page is I just folded the paper in half, stitched this to the page when I was constructing it, and then this just flips open. So all of my journaling is hidden underneath this little flap right here. And I journaled about the actual birthday and then what we did after, and of course just with decorative washi. That's all you really need. And I think this idea is really sweet, especially if you have a small space of a journal. Adding a little pocket and a flip to then hide your journaling doesn't take away from the quilt pattern, but you can also still journal everything that you want. This is actually the other side to the envelope in the beginning, and I just added some of my washi to kind of create a border. And then this was from a magazine as well. It's little Scrabble letters that spell out Christmas. So I thought that was so sweet since I love playing Scrabble. And then on Christmas Day, I didn't want to spend too much time decorating that page. So all I did was I made a little Christmas tree. I just used little swatches of washi and then I just passed it through my sewing machine. And I just wrote Merry, and the washi already says Christmas for me. And of course a little glitter star. I'm just going to journal on the envelope, and this little tag just is tucked into the paper clip. So on this page here, I just took some beautiful vintage paper from one of the kits, and I wanted to make a little pocket, so I took some pleated fabric with little polka dots, as if it was like snowing, and some vintage lace and a little ruffle, a sticker, and I just put in here a selfie that I took and a little envelope that I will do my journaling in. And then this photo, this was actually like a Victorian card, but the photo itself was kind of creepy, so I decided to just put one of my photos of the day that I finished my journal. And I just did my journaling behind there. So I have a lot of like Victorian ephemera pieces that are gorgeous, like the florals are gorgeous and the colors are really pretty, but sometimes the focal images are kind of violent, or they're a little, I don't know, they're not the prettiest. So I think that's a great idea to use your vintage ephemera or even Victorian and give them a new life by using your own photos and treating them like a little Polaroid frame. So then on this page, a ton of color. A big part of December was spent on packaging and shipping and getting all of the washi for the Christmas collection ready. And I typically tend to not take photos of when I am working because obviously I'm busy, but I wanted to commemorate the moment, and I think I liked seeing like all of the packaging and the washi tape, and it's not perfect. But that was the reality of my December for a good 2 weeks. Even though I was wearing a hoodie and it's not the most perfect picture, to me this means a lot. And then on this page, I just did all of my journaling about our washi tape. I loved pairing the tape with some Victorian lace here. This is some really old lace, and I have only a little bit of it, but I wanted to include it on this page. And then on this page, I have not filled it in completely. This is actually a tea-stained paper that I turned into a pocket. This actually is a really old ribbon and it's falling apart, as you can see. And I just very delicately placed it like a little ribbon on the side of the page. I really like that. I think it looks very festive. A vintage envelope I just stamped. May my heart always be open to little birds who love so dearly and carry hope. This was from a magazine as well. I just cut it out and I think the colors went really well. But I think I'm just going to journal on this page. So on this page, I found this image on Pinterest of the Nutcracker, and I passed some little glitter stars through my sewing machine, and I wrote, "She would always count her stars, even when dark." Because this photo was so dark, I had to brighten it up a little bit. But it's the little girl, as you can see, on her little tippy toes from the Nutcracker. And I went to see the Nutcracker for the first time, which the next page is about. Always wanted to go see the Nutcracker since I was little, and it was just so magical. And to me, this photo represents, you know, as a little girl, to always wish, to always count your blessings, count your stars, even when you're in a dark moment. So I think this photo just represents so much in the spirit of Christmas, and I just added little fairy wings. And I will probably do my journaling underneath there. This is just a beautiful postcard that I turned into a full paper, like a full page. I did not want to cover that up at all because I loved just the image so much. And now, moving on to the next page, this is the Nutcracker, the night that we went. I used my crystal stickers that I used a lot of in last year's journal. Found this image on Pinterest of little ballet slippers, and I just stitched it with a little title card where I stamped the Nutcracker, turned it into a pocket, and in the pocket I kept an envelope that was sent to me by Lori, and in here I'm going to do my journaling about how just what a beautiful night it was and my favorite parts of the ballet. And then here what I did is I took the photos that we took and I turned them into faux Polaroids, and I just kind of messily stitched it onto some silk ribbon. Like, it, to me, it just represents like the ballet silk from the ballet slippers. And I probably could have made this a little bit less messy, but I just wanted to come home and the minute we were home, just print out the photos. So this is the photo that we took at the start of the Nutcracker. They had this gorgeous sign outside. It was freezing cold, so I wanted to take more photos, but we just did our best. And this was us trying to get the whole sign, but obviously it did not work out. And then on the inside, it was absolutely stunning. They decorated with snowflakes and chandeliers, and it was just such a beautiful night that I will never forget. And I remember we both said, okay, we need to do this and turn this into a tradition and go to the ballet more often. It's so inspiring to see. I love the idea of going and experiencing art in different ways and forms, and then that alone can inspire you to journal or to make a journal from what you experience. On this page, I just stitched some fabric samples that I used to create the cover, and this is just a vintage capuchon that I purchased for myself for Christmas, and I decided to take a photo of it and print it out and put it in my journal. Then here in the middle, this is really fun. Let me remove the photos really quick. This was just the middle of the signature, and I thought this was very basic and plain pages. They're just vintage papers, as you can see. And in order to make it more special, I just cut this little piece of a quilt that I scanned in. I just put it right in the center, and I love how that looks. It goes with the theme of my journal cover, which the Christmas quilt that I wanted to represent. And then a little photo of Loki. We were cuddling on the couch for Christmas. On this spread, it's not my favorite. I think I could have done a little more, but I loved the postcard so much. This is the other side of that postcard page. I wanted to try to do some watercoloring, but it's not the most perfect little watercolor, but I tried at least. And I took a picture of this chubby little squirrel while we were shipping and packaging your orders. There's a window that we can look out from, and we would always see this little chubby squirrel on the tree just having the greatest time. He or she would just sit there for hours while we were packaging. And it was so sweet. My mom and I fell in love with this little squirrel, so I thought that that was really funny. And then on this spread, I just put a little vintage hanky that I got from an antique store, one of my vintage paper napkins. I just wanted to put at least one in my journal. Then on this little pocket page, just a little postcard. This is my Christmas rose page. A year ago, I was on a walk and I came across a rose was blooming even though it just snowed. It was a special moment for me that I never forgot. And when I read what the Christmas rose represented, the beautiful story about it, just it filled me with love, with hope, with so much faith, and I think it was just very symbolic for me. On this page here, just some vintage paper, an envelope that I can do my journaling. This was a freebie that I gave in my Facebook group along with other little postcards. So if you haven't joined our little Facebook group and you'd like to, I will also leave the link below. Everybody in our group is just so kind, so thoughtful, and it just feels like a nice little family, all together being creative. These next couple of pages and spreads have not been worked on yet because these are my New Year's/New Year's Eve pages. This is my last little candle, my New Year's Eve candle. I basically just took some embossed paper, I made the little glitter flame, and on the back I will write my last and final wish for the new year, do my journaling on there, And then on this page, just wanted to document all the happy mail that I've been receiving. Has been touching my heart so much. This is from a vintage scrapbook that I don't want to tear because it's so fragile. Here in the corner is a Victorian die cut of a grape. Last year I heard about the New Year's Eve tradition of eating, I'm not sure if it's 10 grapes or is it 11? I'm not sure. It was the first time I ever heard about this tradition and I didn't do it. A lot of other people did, but I did not because I personally don't like grapes that much. I think they're too sweet. After a couple, I'm just not interested unless I have them with cheese or nuts or something. This year I'm going to eat the 10/11 grapes and see if I have really great luck throughout the whole year. And I just thought it was fitting. This is a green, beautiful tag that was gifted to me in Happy Mail, and I'm going to do my New Year's Eve journaling about the grapes on the tag. And then this is the final page of the journal, just the back of that Victorian scrapbook. Just so beautiful on its own. I don't want to do anything to it. And then the inside of the back covers, we've reached the end of my Christmas journal, my last and final journaling for the year. So this will be on New Year's Day. And then these pages will be New Year's Eve. And that is the complete flip through of my December journal. Definitely a different color palette and style than the previous year, but I absolutely loved how nostalgic this journal felt. I now have two beautiful journals that I can look back on. Every time that December comes around, I always pull out last year's Christmas journal, and I cannot wait to see the third one for next year. What color palette is going to be chosen? This has definitely become a tradition that I look forward to every year, and I'm excited to see what this new year brings and holds for all of us. I want to say thank you so much to every single one of you that watches my videos, that comments, that has supported Amity Bloom so much throughout all these years. I am so appreciative and so grateful of all of the love that you all have been so kind to share with me. I want to send all of you so much peace, so much love, and wishing you a beautiful start to this new year. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas, a wonderful December, and I can't wait to see all of you in the next year to see what beautiful projects we all create together.